And he was like, I do this thing on the weekends, takes time away from my family, takes me the whole weekend. He just didn't really enjoy doing it at all. I was at university, just finished my second year and was dying to start an AI business. At the time, I had no idea what a bid and tender was. I found out how big of a market it is, how common it is. Every industry does some form of bidding. Once I saw the opportunity and the actual chance to build a product, started building from there.
Where do you see bidding in 2 to 3 years?
Bidwriter is always going to be involved in that final process, human in the loop throughout, making sure that that final submission is really, really high quality and refined.
What would you suggest that they try this week or next week to kind of level up their AI bid management game?
The most important thing is
Hey, Jamie. How are you?
Hi, Chris. Very good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for being on the podcast.
No problem.
I think everyone knows who you are, but give like a 1 to 2 second introduction about yourself and just a little bit about your background and, you know, what you do with MyTender.io.
Yeah, so hello, everyone. I'm Jamie, co-founder and chief product officer at MyTender.io. Essentially, I was at university, just finished my second year and was dying to start an AI business because I saw the sort of opportunity there. So me and my co-founder, Sam, sort of was trying to provide these AI automations to a bunch of different businesses. And through that, we came across the pain point of bid writing, that they were very time consuming. And people were looking to automate certain parts of it with AI. So pretty much once we came across that idea, doubled down on that and started building the product.
Yeah, and you've done a lot of grant writing as well.
Yeah, so I mean, it's mainly through MyTender.io. We've done lots of like applications to awards, to grants. There's a few grants at the university, which we won all of them using our software for. And then also had like an Innovation UK grant, which we didn't win that one, but scored very highly. It's quite a competitive one. So whilst I'm not like a bid writer, I don't sort of proclaim to have the bid writing experience. I've done my fair share of grant writing and I've spoken to, by this point, hundreds of professional bid writers. So I feel like I'm fairly well gauged to give an opinion on some of the bid writing domain.
Yeah, no. So I guess then like, because you started thinking, okay, I want to start an AI business, but what made you think, okay, proposals and bids, like this, there's a problem here and I can fix it? Like what took you down that rabbit hole?
Yeah, great question. So it was essentially a facility management CEO who we outreached to, and he essentially was like, I do this thing on the weekends, takes time away from my family, takes me the whole weekend, and he just didn't really enjoy doing it at all. So he was desperate for sort of any way we could help automate him. And he said that he has, 5 to 10 people just like him that he knows, some of his friends that also own businesses that are doing the same thing and have that same pain. So at the time, I had no idea what a bid and tender was. So after the call, I was like researching, finding all about it. And then, essentially found out how big of a sort of market it is, how common it is. Pretty much every industry does some form of bidding. And I suppose once I saw the opportunity and the actual chance to build a product as opposed to more service and consulting, I much preferred the sort of product route. So just decided to essentially find a technical co-founder and started building from there. Yeah,
no, I think that's super exciting. I am always curious about like why someone goes down like the CPO route, which is what you've done, as opposed to the CEO route. Like what drew you like fully into going down the product route?
Me and Sam at the start were very typical startup-y co-founders doing pretty much everything across the business. Then after 6 months, 12 months, you're starting to get more mature. And I was basically doing a lot more of the prompting, the AI side. I was quite interested in that stuff. So doing like sales calls and, landing like sales and speaking to partners and stuff. But
Right.
I suppose my interest was kind of like into the AI side of things and also into building a great product. I feel very lucky that at like my age, I've got quite a good sort of direction in terms of what I want to do. I absolutely love being like a product guy. I love speaking to customers, getting their feedback. And also in the modern day AI product role or AI product manager, I think it also favors people that are kind of technical.
Yes.
And I think that's something that I've over the sort of period of my tenure become. And because I understand the AI elements, so much of like product in AI applications is actually how you're wanting the AI to, interact with the customer, the interfaces which you're selecting to, get the best out of the AI, and all that stuff I find like very fascinating. So yeah.
Yeah, I think because like you've spoken to so many people and you're so like aware of where the industry is right now, like the proposal industry, the bidding industry, but also the technology. So where do you see bidding and proposals in 2 to 3 years? I know like you don't have a crystal ball, but just on how things are going, what would you predict?
Yeah, so I think in terms of the AI space, the application layer on top of all these foundational models, I believe we're still very, very, very early days in the sense that with the foundational models, they're showing diminishing returns. They're not each sort of latest model is not quite as intelligent, or like the sort of jump between each one is less.
Yeah.
So I don't believe we're going to see too much improvements from that side. However, on the application layer, I think that's where there's still a massive amount of innovation to be had, which can truly improve all sorts of domains and sort of vertical specific applications, especially bid writing. So I think that essentially in 2 to 3 years time, we're going to start seeing the Gen AI applications become much, much more sophisticated, I believe. I think the writing is going to get higher quality.
Yeah.
I think all of the tooling around the bid creation process is going to improve as well, all the way from the capture phase through to doing the reviewing and post bid submission, feeding that back into your AI model so that can be used and fed in as memory into your bids. Elements like that which we're experimenting at. All basically, I suppose, just where the role of the proposal manager is probably going to shift from still doing some more of that manual admin work of trying to find the right data and potentially, some of the sort of collaboration interaction piece that bid teams have to do in between one another to likely being much more strategic, much more focused on the customer, interacting with the customer, and sort of just working on the more higher value tasks, which AI sort of helps to enable you to do.
Yeah, so that's really interesting because I hear a lot of bid people specifically, like I'm talking about kind of, when I say bid manager, just for everyone, I really do mean everybody who's doing like capture all the way to the very end. So like for me, it's really interesting because I have a lot of the writers who like look at AI and think, okay, see, I hit the thing. Who look at AI and say, okay, it does okay. It does better than what a salesperson would usually do, but it doesn't do as well as I do. So like I know you said that like writing will get better, but what would you say to the person who's just like, look, AI will do an okay job, but it doesn't do a great job?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's good news in the sense that you like the bid writer is always going to be involved in that final process, human in the loop throughout, and really, making sure that it is that final submission is really, really high quality and refined. I believe in like sort of one of our philosophies of a product is to give as much control and flexibility to the bid writer as possible so that they can essentially use their knowledge, use their skills to get to that final, submission ready draft or submission as quick as possible. Because I find when you have inflexible systems or, maybe some like a quite a rigid workflow within the product, that limits and hinders the bid writer's ability to integrate their intelligence and the skills that they've spent their whole career building up into what they're essentially producing. So I believe, there's always going to be bid writing throughout that process, but a bid writer throughout that process. But I just think that I suppose the amount that it gets you closer to that final draft with intelligent systems from that initial couple of drafts and generations will likely be closer to that final draft than it is currently.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. No, so I asked that question because obviously I'm not an AI skeptic. There are things I think it's good at and things I think it's not so good at. And I'm really curious, like when you're talking with bid teams specifically, and I'll ask about sales teams later, but when I'm talking about bid teams specifically, like what are they most worried about or most skeptical about in terms of its ability to help them?
I think the most amount of skepticism I've experienced is for them to get their head around and understand how it's going to truly adopt and generate in the style and that they essentially write their bids in, and the formatting and all of the information and knowledge which is in that organization, which they know about, how the AI system is going to generate it in that similar fashion and to that same sort of tone and formatting requirements, and just like the general knowledge of the business being transferred into the paper. So I mean that's something which once again, back to the application layer, I think we'll see improvements at more and more. There's already things which we do, like tone of voice, certain other elements, like templates. We allow users to generate the proposal in their standard template. Features like that which help get it closer to that point. But I definitely think, once again, as the application layer evolves and you get more cool techniques and innovations developed, that the AI will be able to get a much better understanding and really be like a junior bid writer to help them on pretty much every bid.
You often run weekly enterprise calls, so I'm wondering what's something you often coach people on, like coach these enterprise level sales teams on, about what they can do now differently than they couldn't do like a year ago.
Yeah, I think it's like just largely around the education piece of some of the capabilities of these models. Like for example, we have like one of our enterprise customers. They still currently spend, they originally spent quite a lot of time in the capture phase, doing their research on the customer, and they were just kind of unaware of that capability of AI to just automate that significantly. So it's just about, I think, making them aware of the different use cases that can be used with AI within your platform, and just, I suppose, helping them through that process. I think definitely it's important when you have someone who's used to a certain way of doing things and a process of their bid writing process, which they've done for their whole career, to then slightly tweak it and change it into a new way of doing things is quite it's a massive change in essentially their day to day. So you do definitely need to provide that support, help offer the guidance, and then through that you can both end up massively enhancing their efficiency and quality, and also improving their AI skills as well. It helps them out too.
If you kind of had to put like a CRO that you talk to next to a bid person, like a senior bid person who knows what they're doing, what do you think like the major differences are? And what would you say to the bid person who needs to talk to their CRO about AI? Like maybe the CRO, sorry, this is like a long winding one, but like if you have a CRO, right, who who is just kind of doing things the way they've always been doing. You have the bid person who's always been doing things, but they know they need to use AI. And the CRO is like, I know I need to use AI too, but I don't really know what to do. So what would you say to that bid person who needs to have that conversation with their CRO about AI? Because this is a common scenario that I see a lot.
Yeah, good question. I think firstly, it's that bid writer getting slightly educated on firstly the benefits AI can offer within the bid process, where it's going to offer them at sort of each phase, and then also getting a little bit. It depends how, I suppose, big of a serious of a buying process it is, but definitely think it's worth educating yourself on AI, because I think that is, certain organizations come to us with much more granular, detailed, high quality specs where they're asking the right questions, I've found. And I think if you can, get slightly educated, I'm not saying to try to become an AI expert or anything, but if you have a general sense of what high quality AI looks like, some of the latest innovations and technologies which can be used in softwares, then you can definitely, I suppose, select someone better. And when you are taking that to the CRO, then you're basically going to just be able to have quite a strong case for being able to adopt a solution. And it's also going to help the CRO to make a much more informed, better decision, which he can then derive off the increase in win rate, the increase in revenue, and all of the actual more the economics of what an adoption of AI would look like for their business.
Because a lot of times what I'm seeing is you have like a CRO or some sort of sales leader or marketing leader, whatever it is. And they think, okay, I need to be adopting AI. I know I'm supposed to do it. My CEO said so. My board says so. But like, I'm a bit overwhelmed about it. Then you also have the bid people who probably are using AI in some sense, but like they also are kind of afraid of AI taking their jobs, or like maybe not getting enough headcount because AI is coming in. And so I think having that conversation with that leader, whoever it is really important, because then you can take the reins on that conversation. You get to drive that narrative. You get to drive the ship. And then if you do end up purchasing a proposal tech tool, if you don't have one already, or a more AI native one, you can help drive which one they are choosing, instead of having them just kind of like panic buy whatever salesperson they like the best.
Yeah, 100%.
So, because like I can see some of them choosing like a larger, more maybe generalist tool, as opposed to like if a construction or facilities management team needs something, they might not know that something like that exists. They're not talking to their bid person.
100%. And I suppose it's the bid writers who are going to be using it day in, day out. They're the ones who've got the domain knowledge of what they want a solution to look like and how it would actually help and benefit them.
Yeah.
So they should have an awful lot of power in that buying decision, I think, because of sort of those reasons. And I suppose like from the CRO perspective, it's not necessarily, this is a global, every industry, every business is having to come up with their AI strategy and how they're going to adopt it in the most effective way, which is something so far I think a lot of businesses not getting correct. I don't know if you saw the MIT review of
that's funny.
But there's like, for example, I also like a ambassador for the Center for Gen AI Ops, which is essentially how you can build and integrate Gen AI applications to deliver real value within your business. So they have like a framework which can help you with that process and understand the right use cases in your business. So that's a good place to sort of, it's like a community interest company for people or CROs who want to understand how they can, like, I suppose, integrate AI into their business as effectively as possible. But yeah, I definitely think the more sort of like informed you are, and the sort of more, I suppose, thought you take to understanding AI and how it would affect the bid process, then the better you're gonna sort of see it, the outcome.
Yeah, I think it really does come coming down to, whoever it is, like speaking their language, kind of like what you were saying before, like the numbers, exactly how it would look or how you envision it to look, and then speaking their language, how it's going to affect them and how it's going to help them. Yeah, what's one thing that you would suggest bid people who have, tried AI, they tried ChatGPT, Claude, whatever it is, but what would you suggest that they try this week or next week to kind of level up their AI bid management game?
I think the most important thing is to get the excitement for the technology in terms of knowing what it can do for you. So I think that's probably like the first thing. And I do that by some of the most like effective ways which you could try tomorrow. Firstly, I think search up Perplexity and do all of your research that you would typically be doing on Perplexity. And I think that alone would speed up your capture phase, your bid no bid decision massively. And then the second thing, which I think is one of the things AI is very, very good at, is the analysis part. So whereas it may not be like, 10 out of 10 writing, if you go for the, let's say if you wanted to feed in the evaluation criteria to one of the answers you've already done, and essentially prompt it to say, well, how can I improve this answer to score higher? That's like, in my opinion, a very, very effective use case, and can just get like your brain thinking in a slightly different way. I use that for like pretty much loads of different strategic decisions I make as a business or on the product. I'll do a similar sort of thing. So definitely recommend trying that. And I think that will help them understand how AI can help them.
Okay, so it's doing research on Perplexity. Love Perplexity. And like I think the paid version is still pretty cheap as well.
Yeah.
And then also having it do the review based on the evaluation score on your response.
Yeah.
Those are the top two things. Oh, and being excited.
Yeah.
Have a good attitude, you guys.
Yeah. You gotta get that excitement up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just probably coming from the wrong person, but
No. Like I think most people are like, there's like two sides. I feel like there's the people who are excited about it. People who just like are tired of hearing about it.
Yeah. I mean, understandable.
What do you think? I mean, obviously you just talked about analysis and research, but what is one part of the process that proposal and salespeople are totally missing that they could be using AI better with?
Good question. I think that potentially when you're coming up with that proposed solution, like the solution that you're wanting to offer to the customer, that's an area which I think definitely you can get a lot of value out by, running a conversation with it, refining it, improving it, adding all of the right context in. It's something we do in our system. You can add in the subject matter expert knowledge. You have the understanding of the customer and what they're after, and any sort of things which you can add into the chat history or context around, if let's say you've had a meeting with the customer where they've explained some of their pain points, what they're trying to achieve, etc. Yeah. Or anything generally that you pick up from the RFP or the tender, then that can all be used to really generate a solution that's very aligned to what the customer is looking for. So I think that, alongside a bid writer and maybe even a subject matter expert who can back and forth with different ideas, keep on refining, is an area which I don't see. Well, I think could. I don't hear very often, but I think could definitely deliver lots of value for businesses.
Yeah, I love that because I'm not going to pretend like I understand the facilities management or construction industry. Like I just don't. I have so many friends who are in AEC back in the States and in construction here, but it's never been something I've been in. But in my background, like our process was always like, before you start the response, like you do the research like you're talking about. But then you pull in all the information that you have about the customer from hopefully notes that your AE took, your sales rep put in the CRM, or like those customer calls or those emails, whatever that is. And you had to like manually sift through those and then decide as a team, okay, like what are our win themes, guys? And that was what helped make a really powerful response, like is going through every single answer and then putting in those win themes that you decided on. But I think like what you're saying is if you have AI do all that for you, kind of like it has all that context and it's automatically going to be putting those things in for you. So even though you can definitely have a conversation about it in your kickoff call or wherever you do it, it will be in the response kind of already.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's very much how we've like structured the workflow of our software. Like following, APMPs, like, and this traditional process. We also accommodate a lot for flexibility because not every business's process is the same. So
No.
I'm very, very big on your AI has to be as flexible as possible and be able to do everything in the background. Whether that's retrieve different information or improve something, or even, if it's, maybe sending an email, for example, through to some of your subject matter experts to then put their input. I think all of that in an AI system is what people should be expecting, to be honest.
Absolutely.
That it's just a super simple, flexible system that will fit around your current process and let the bid writer or the person responding add their input and knowledge and skill into it. So that's something we're very big on.
Yeah, okay, so this is so important because like a lot of tech doesn't do that. And so I think where a lot of people kind of like proposal and sales people and they're responding to RFPs fall down is they're thinking, okay, I have AI. I can now respond so much faster, right? And so why not respond to every single RFP, every ITT that comes along because I can respond faster. But they're not putting that context in like you're talking about. They're not having those interviews with SMEs necessarily and then putting that context in. And so they're just pushing out these really generic responses that are never going to win. And they're going to make their people probably hate them, right? And the buyers hate them. But if you do what you just said, then you could be putting out faster, although probably not as fast as just the generic ones, these really highly personalized, context-aware responses.
And I mean, that's something I heard in the very early days of my tender was there's two people who win on a bid, the person who wins the contract and the person who decides not to bid. So emphasizing the importance of the sort of initial bid, no bid decision. Really being like, I suppose, selective of the contracts that you do go after, because even with like a AI system, which is going to make it much, much quicker and easier, you still could be prioritizing likely better opportunities that you are more suited to, which, looks after the resource within your organization.
There's always blind spots the sales leader and bid people have in their RFP process, just because, like you said, they've always done something a certain way. So do you think because you've seen so many teams do things so many different ways, like, do you think there is one particular thing that that many people are missing in their bid process that would help them win, like help their win rates?
Yeah. So the ones which it's probably like a fairly standard generic answer, so apologies for that, but the teams which in our initial calls and after they've signed on, that I sense that they've got a really good grasp on what they're doing, they've got a good win rate, and they've got a very slick functioning bid process, is where they take it very seriously, the whole end-to-end journey of the bid. So taking, once again, very, very seriously that initial bid, no bid decision. I think a lot of it stems from that, because if you're bidding on the wrong contract that likely you're not very suited to, or you can't, it's maybe not your strong suit compared to some of your competitors, then it's a waste of the team's time. And then I would say the main, another main part is definitely on that storyboarding phase. You mentioned earlier, refining the win themes and the understanding the pain points and your unique selling points, etc. That's something which definitely, like, the teams that I speak to that do that, they definitely come across like they're going about it in much the right way. Now that isn't, I suppose that does depend on the the timescales of the contract. If it's a very quick turnaround, you don't always get that luxury. However, I think that spending time at that initial strategic phase of really understanding what you're offering to the customer or on that contract, that is basically going to pay significant dividends throughout the process. And then lastly, ensuring that, once you have all it's just submitted, you've got the score back, you've got the hopefully evaluation criteria from the feedback from the buyer. Then you do have like a debriefing meeting where you look to see what you can improve and optimize, and take that into your next bid.
So what I'm hearing then is the way that you win is your customer beforehand. Before you get the ITT and RFP, data backs it up. Jamie's right. But then like what I say is like you win the RFP based on like how well you build trust with the customer before the RFP. But then you can still lose the RFP based on the response. I think that's where your next thing comes in, which is after the RFP comes out, the ITT comes out, did you then use all that information when you're building trust with the customer to craft like a really compelling response, like with the strategy and the everything that you're talking about? So to me, like those you like really hit that out of the park. So to me, that's like so fun to hear you say, because like I see this every day. I see data back this up. But the fact that you are seeing this as a CPO of a tech company, that means like you're seeing it from a different way than I am, but we're still seeing the same things.
And just quickly, so part of my sort of my role is that we have a system which the workflow encourages the user to do that. However, it's not mandatory for the final output, because sometimes bid writers won't spend that time at the that strategic input stage and the storyboarding, etc. So I think it's about, once again, having that within the workflow and in the product, but not as like a mandatory must-do step to click on next and be able to go to the next page. Like it's just flexible and there if they want to take that extra steps in improving their strategy.
No, I love that. I'm also kind of curious because you focus on a really niche area. It's like in the UK mostly, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like construction, facilities management. So what do you think is like really specific to your niche? Like, what do you think it makes those specific people win? Like that's might be different from all the rest of us losers.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think that, they're fairly different. Construction and facility management, I wouldn't want to sort of necessarily put in the same bracket.
Yeah.
I say construction, you're still wanting to propose quite a good solution. I think as an industry, it's a lot more relationship based. There's still quite an emphasis on the technical solution which you're offering to the sort of customer. My cousin works in construction and in building hospitals, so I get like I've got a sort of somewhat family heritage of construction in my family, so I've got a fairly good understanding. But yeah, for the bids, I think it's just a kind of technical, and then being able to integrate a lot of the regulation in the construction industry, which is something which is very important to do in ensuring that you're by all the construction standards, etc. And then facility management, I think the facility management, from my experience, have quite a high turnaround. It's not necessarily as like an IT sector where it's highly technical and very solution orientated. It's still focused on the solution, but it's much more around the sort of complete wider bid which you're submitting. So I think for them, it's probably wanting a solution which iterates very quickly and learns on what you submit very, very frequently. So that's just going to enable the better it is at learning from your bids and how you write, then the more quickly you're going to see that sort of like improvement curve. So that's probably what I'd say for those two industries specifically.
Yeah, no, very cool. Because I'm pretty ignorant to those, but I know like a lot of the people who are listening to this, that's where they sit.
Yeah.
So that's useful.
And I mean, there's probably, I'm not like an expert in either industry, but that's from like my experience, I suppose. And they still all, I think all verticals still have a standard set of things which are common between all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Jamie, this has been really interesting. So thank you so much for talking to me. Any last words of wisdom for our proposal people?
Words of wisdom. I'd say enjoy using AI. I suppose it's quite an exciting thing once you do make that change to using more AI products and seeing what it can do for your workflow. And I suppose it wouldn't be right as if I didn't say that if you do want to have a flexible solution, then come have a chat and we can find more about your bid process.
Yeah, where can people find you?
Yeah, well, you can either email me at jamie@mytender.io or go to visit our website. There's like a book a demo right in the top right-hand corner, which you can click on. And I'd love to speak to you.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you, Jamie.
Cool. Thank you, Chris.